Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that the day he was born was the worst day of my life? I was born in 1962 in a rural area before ultrasound machines were everywhere, and the nearest town was not that close to us, and babies were born at home and delivered by the same midwife. Oh, wow, 1962 in a rural area. That's already giving me super old school vibes, right? In a midwife at home, totally different world. So when I was 7, my mother got pregnant with twins and had no idea she was carrying 2 babies, and the midwife, who had just delivered the first baby and probably did not realize there was one more to come, had to be immediately driven by my father to another farm where she was needed. Which means that when my mother's contractions started again, I was then alone in a farm with her and the first newborn baby, and it was up to me to deliver my youngest brother with my mother instructing me. Are you kidding me? You were 7 years old. 7. My jaw is on the floor. You had to deliver a baby with your mom just telling you what to do. I'm literally shaking my head. That's like something out of a crazy movie. This was hands down the worst and scariest moment of my life because I feared both my mother and the baby wouldn't make it. Well, thankfully, it all worked out. Now, here's what happened. Last weekend, my husband and I were celebrating our 40th anniversary, and we had a party, and people were making speeches and talking about us. But when the mic got to my brother, who, of course, has no first-hand memory of his own birth and only knows what he was told about it, he took the chance to tell this story as if it was a fun anecdote. Like, and then my dad got home and there were 2 babies instead of 1. So funny. And he went, "Thanks, sis, for helping me come into this world." And everybody thought it was fun and sweet, but to me, it was the opposite. It brought back some memories that are not at all positive to me. No kidding. It's not a fun little party trick. It's actual trauma for you. You were there. They weren't. I would be so mad. I totally get why your mood completely shifted. My mood completely shifted after that, and I think my brother noticed at once because he came to talk to me afterwards and asked if he had said something wrong. And then I told him this is not a funny story to me and that the day he was born was indeed the worst day of my life, and that's something I'd like to think back in a happy moment celebrating my marriage. Ooh, okay. He asked, and you told him the raw truth, but dropping the worst day of my life bomb. Ugh, that must have hit him like a truck. I get why you said it. You were angry and hurt, but man, that's a tough thing to hear. And he went quiet and then said, "Wow, I was trying to honor you, and that's how you thought of my speech?" See, he thought he was giving you a shout out. He genuinely sounds shocked. He probably has no idea how deeply terrifying and traumatic that was for a little kid. It sounds like he felt really misunderstood. The thing is, I wasn't saying him being born was a bad thing. I love my brother. It was just that the circumstances of his birth made the occasion traumatic for me, and that he should know better than talking about it as a fun fact if he had put himself in my shoes. Okay, I hear you. The circumstances were the problem, not him. But you have to tell him that. Just saying, "worst day of my life" is what he's going to remember. He probably just sees it as a cool family legend, you know? He needs you to explain that for a 7-year-old, it was an emergency, not a funny story. But now I think I should have kept quiet and said nothing, either it bothered me or not. Hey, don't feel bad. You just reacted honestly to something that truly upset you. Maybe you could have just pulled him aside and whispered, "Hey, that story brings up really scary memories for me," instead of saying it was the worst day of my life. The truth is important, but the way you deliver it can change everything. It's a tricky situation. Second one, am I the a-hole for not inviting my friend to my birthday party? So I'm turning a year older and throwing a house party for all my friends. Well, all except for one. Let's call him John. Now, John has been my friend for about 2 years longer than everyone else. He was there when I first came to my new school, and since we are both immigrants from the same country, we speak a language that everyone else doesn't understand. I used to be good friends with him. I had no one else. Even back then, he was a little Weird, but I took what I got and we had some really good times together. Aw, that's sweet. He was your first friend and your connection back to your home country. Oh, that's a strong bond. But a little weird right from the start? That's usually a red flag you overlook when you're lonely, right? Since then, I have grown up, but he still seems to be in his early teens mentally. Not only that, he's kind of an asshole. He talks bad about people behind their backs, objectifies women, and is really narcissistic. He's lied to me on many occasions about minor things and doesn't even own up when he's caught in a lie. Oh, yikes, that's not just weird, that's toxic. Ugh, nobody wants a friend who is always talking trash about others, especially not a narcissist who can't take responsibility. Seriously, that's exhausting. Since then, I have grown up, but he still seems to be in his early teens mentally. Not only that, he's kind of an asshole. He talks bad about people behind their backs, objectifies women, and is really narcissistic. He's lied to me on many occasions about minor things and doesn't even own up when he's caught in a lie. Ugh, seriously, that's not just weird, that's toxic. Nobody wants a friend who's always talking trash about others, especially not a narcissist who can't take responsibility. Nonetheless, I feel kind of bad for him nowadays. I feel like I'm the only real friend he has, and even though I've been distancing myself from him and hanging out with other people more, he just won't let go. Ugh, I know that feeling. The one where you feel obligated because you're worried about them. Ugh, that's a classic move by people like that. They make you feel responsible for their social life. Don't fall for that guilt trip. You are not his therapist or his social worker. So now comes my birthday party. I've invited all my friends but John. I just don't enjoy spending time with him anymore. And I just know that he'll talk to me in our native language, excluding the rest of my friend group, all the while making my special day all about himself. Nope. You are totally right to not invite him. It's your birthday. You should be surrounded by people who make you feel good, not people who stress you out and exclude others. Talking in a secret language and making the day all about himself, ugh, that's just rude and selfish. You're throwing a party, not hosting an intervention for John. So, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. Your party, your rules, you're allowed to curate your guest list to make sure your special day is happy and fun. You've outgrown the friendship, and that's okay. You don't have to keep a toxic friend just because they were there first. Cut the deadweight.
Story 3. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my birthday gift? Not the a-hole. I recently received a bunch of chocolate for my birthday from one of my friends. The chocolate was a thoughtful gift that was carved into my favorite animals. Oh, that's such a thoughtful gift. Hand-carved chocolate of your favorite animals? Oh, that's so cool. I'd want to save that too. It's not just a regular candy bar, you know? When I came home that day, I told my parents that my friend had given me chocolate for my birthday. When my mom asked me to share, I refused and told her it was a birthday gift for me. Wait, hold up. Your mom asked you to share your special hand-carved birthday gift? Okay, wait, that's a bit weird, but okay. You told her it was yours, fair enough. It's a gift. She then went on about how kids these days are selfish and that when she was a kid, she always thought about her parents when she received something. She said it made her feel sad that I wouldn't share, then that I don't care about anyone. Whoa, that escalated way too fast. Calling you selfish and saying you don't care about anyone over 5 pieces of chocolate. Come on. That's total emotional blackmail, seriously. That's not okay behavior from a parent. That's just manipulation. Puh. When I asked my friend about the situation, she said that she bought the gift for me and not for my parents. When I showed my mom the text, she started laughing at the fact I would ask my friend. You even checked with the giver. It's actually kind of funny that you went to the source and your mom laughs at you for trying to clarify. That just shows she knows she's being ridiculous and is trying to avoid being called out. She then told my dad about it, And when I explained to my dad that it was a birthday gift, he said that was no excuse. Oh, I feel really bad now. Oh, and now they're teaming up. Your dad saying that was no excuse. Look, your feelings of guilt are totally valid because they are using guilt to control you. You are not in the wrong, and it is your gift. You don't have to share every single thing, especially something special you just got. You don't have to share every single thing, especially something special. You did nothing wrong. You stood up for your gift. Don't worry about how you handled it. You're just defending what was yours. Seriously, what the hell is their problem?
Ugh. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my in-laws to stay with us more than once a month? Not the a-hole. In the last story, we talked about a parent who was super selfish and trying to make their kid feel guilty over 5 pieces of chocolate. Well, this story is also about a family member who is making the user feel super guilty, but this time it's the in-laws taking over the house. I live in a suburb of a large city. My in-laws live about 3.5 hours south in a small town. They come up often for doctor's appointments, shopping, or just to play. Sometimes there's a month between visits, but sometimes it's literally every weekend. Oh, every weekend? Oh, that is absolutely excessive. Seriously, 3.5 hours away is far enough that it shouldn't be a weekly thing. They're basically treating your house like their local crash pad. I love my husband and my in-laws, but I hate feeling like our home is a hotel. They can't afford a hotel, but prefer staying with us. My MOL loves to cook, and I used to feel pressure to cook big meals so I wouldn't look lazy. But now I just tell my husband to suggest takeout because I'm tired of hosting. They can afford a hotel, but stay with you. That's just them taking advantage of your kindness, man. And you feeling pressure to cook big meals? Oh, that hosting stress is real. Good for you for pushing the takeout option. It's a small victory. I also compulsively clean before they come, which drives me crazy. Our house is nearly 5,000 SF, and I deep clean everything, baseboards included, because I can't stand the thought of them seeing dirt. It's self-imposed and ironic since their house isn't spotless, but I can't let it go. My husband helps, but he rushes, and I feel bad complaining since at least he's helping. Oh, 5,000 square feet. Cleaning that much before every visit, that's a massive chore. I get that anxiety about people judging your home, but your in-laws are creating a huge amount of unpaid labor for you. And the fact that their house isn't spotless just makes the whole thing even more ridiculous. Stop cleaning the baseboards for them. Seriously, you need a break. This constant open door policy has become a major sore spot in our marriage. Having my MOL, FIL, and 2 sills stay so often makes me feel like it's not even my home anymore. Duh, of course it is. That's a whole lot of people constantly in your space. Your home should be your sanctuary, not a revolving door for the whole extended family. That's a huge invasion of privacy and peace. For context, my parents live 20 minutes away and visit often. They don't stay overnight. They come for hours, bring food, help clean up, and even help with house projects. My in-laws, on the other hand, drop their plates in the sink after dinner to help. Okay, your husband is comparing apples and rotten oranges. Your parents sound like awesome guests. They're actually helpful. His family leaving plates in the sink is not helping. That is just leaving the mess for you. They sound like they're on vacation while you're working. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. His family is creating a ton of extra work for you at the south of mom, and he's totally missing the imbalance here. He's not the one deep cleaning 5,000 square feet. And yes, he's the golden boy. Of course, they're not going to judge him. You are not being unwelcoming. You are just burned out. To make things worse, one still is living with us for 5 months while she's in school. I agreed to it to be kind. Even though I'm an introvert, I'm terrified the visits will become even more frequent and my husband just can't say no. The biggest issue is that my MOL can I take a hint even when we're clearly burned out, or when my husband tries to subtly dodge another visit, she keeps asking until he gives in. He doesn't really want them here that often either, but he's scared of offending her. She gets her feelings hurt easily, and instead of setting boundaries, he says yes and leaves me to deal with the fallout. Here's the real problem. Your MOL is a boundary stomper and your husband is the a-hole, not you. He's prioritizing his mom's fragile feelings over your sanity and the health of your marriage. He's throwing you under the bus because he can't say the simple word no. He needs to grow a spine, man. He needs to be the one to say it. He can say it. He just won't because he's afraid to tell him it's one visit a month or you're going to start scheduling a weekend hotel stay for yourself to get a break. He needs to step up. That's a tough situation to be in when your spouse won't stand up for you. And you found this honest take on in-law boundaries helpful, and if you know someone else dealing with an overstaying family member, please like this video and share it with them. Maybe it'll help them realize they're not crazy for needing their space back.
Am I the a-hole for accusing our dad of not loving us? Wow, that last story was about a father missing the mark on a small, simple boundary. But this story is on a whole different level. It's about a dad who missed the mark on basic parental love and support. My 26M mom was amazing, sweet yet firm, a total rock star. My dad, on the other hand, treated us like burdens. He made constant comments every year on our birthdays saying, "Only this many more years until you're 18 and you're out of my house." Oh, yikes. That is seriously harsh. Saying that every year on your birthday? It's bad enough when a parent says that stuff once during a fight, but to make it a tradition? That's rough, man. He always said it in a joking way, but even from a young age, my brothers and I knew he was not joking. Unfortunately, our mom died when we were teens. The comments ramped up at that point. Sure enough, my oldest brother turns 18. He was gifted a 2-week eviction notice. As he's a few years older than my other brother and I, we were able to prepare a little more, so we weren't totally blindsided at 18. We had always figured we'd have to move out after graduation, but hadn't foreseen he truly meant right after we turned 18, even though all of us have fall or winter birthdays. So we were still in high school for several months after. We just accepted it as reality. Oh my God, a 2-week eviction notice on his birthday? That is cold. And doing it while you guys were still grieving your mom? Ugh, that is not a different time. That's just a jerk move. Kicking high schoolers out in the middle of a school year just because they hit the number 18? That's not a father. That's a landlord with a bad attitude. I'm the youngest, and when I turned 17, my dad got a calendar and began marking down the days until I turned 18. It was a daily countdown where he'd mark the days off. A daily countdown? I can't give in. That's not just wanting space, that's actively showing disdain. That must have felt absolutely horrible, like you were serving a jail sentence until you were free. My brothers and I didn't talk to our dad for a while after moving out, but eventually my oldest brother's wife had a baby and my dad started showing up again. He is arguably a better grandfather than he ever was a dad, so when I became a dad 5 years ago, I allowed him around my child. Though I admit becoming a dad myself made me realize how wrong my dad was. I love my little girl so much. Sure, fatherhood is not easy, but I am certainly not counting down the days until she's 18. If she wants, she could live with me forever. I find myself actually sad at how fast the time is going. I entered fatherhood unplanned and actually do 90% of it on my own as her mom is barely around. Long story, but I still wouldn't change a thing. Aw, that is so sweet. It's awesome that you broke the cycle and are such a loving dad, especially stepping up like that as a single parent. Your reaction to your daughter growing up is what a normal, loving parent feels. That feeling of sadness, but time is going too fast, that's the opposite of what your dad felt. Last month, my daughter started kindergarten. She is very independent and just walked on in, no issues. I held it together, but admit I broke down crying when I got back to my car because she's just growing up so damn fast. I work at my eldest brother's restaurant and showed up for my shift a hot mess. He was comforting me as he's been there with his own kids. Our dad stopped by for breakfast and asked what was wrong. He laughed when we explained and said I was too damn soft. I said it must be foreign to him to see what a loving father actually is like. This pissed our dad off, and he started arguing with me, saying it was disgusting. I accused him of not loving us. He kept saying he was from a different time. You know what? You basically said the quiet part out loud. And what was his response? To get angry and use the same pathetic excuse from a different time. That excuse is BS. People in every time period knew what love was. He's mad because you hit him with the truth, and he can't handle it. While my eldest brother doesn't take issue with what I said, my second eldest brother told me I was wrong to accuse him of not loving us and said it puts words in his mouth. He also said it was just starting shit, as my dad has gotten better and has been trying. And it's been a month since the incident, and my dad refuses to see my daughter since I said this, and he misses his grandpa. It's left me wondering if I'm the asshole. Okay, your little brother is probably trying to keep the peace and maybe clinging to the fact that his dad is a better grandpa. He is avoiding the issue, but refusing to see his granddaughter over one comment. That's just more emotional manipulation. He's punishing an innocent kid to prove a point to you. You are not the asshole. You just spoke your truth after a lifetime of feeling unloved. That was a moment of raw honesty, and he deserved to hear it. He needs to apologize for his parenting, not run away when he hears the consequence of his actions.
Story 6. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my brother, male 24, to come to my mom's 60th birthday? The last story was about a dad using emotional manipulation to punish his son, and this story is about a whole family trying to use guilt and emotional pressure to get you to spend your money. So it's my mom's 60th birthday this year in December, and I've been talking about plans for it the last month as I want to book stuff in advance to make sure stuff is available. I'm always the one to do the planning, etc., so I get stressed. But my brother is now saying that he can't afford it, and has subtly tried to ask me to pay for it. You know the guide. Oh, well, I guess there's just no other option then. That subtle hinting, passive-aggressive line, I guess there's just no other option, is totally designed to make you feel like the bad guy. You're already doing all the planning, and now they want you to fund it, too? Nope. He doesn't want mom to pay for it because it's a birthday, and he said he also doesn't want his girlfriend paying for it as she needs to pay for and brother's birthday soon after, also in December. So now plans are in a standstill, stressing me because he is saying he can't afford it. It'd be about $100. The $100 is key here. He can't afford $100, but he has a huge debt and an expensive car. The rest of his excuses, he's just deflecting responsibility. The plans are in a standstill is just him making it your problem because he won't solve his problem. Then the other day when I was talking to my mom about it, she said, "Did he say that you couldn't pay for it?" As in she's also subtly asking and wants me to pay for him to come. I can tell she's sad as she's always wanted to be a family outing to the spa day. But I said to her that he's had all year to think about this, to which she said, but he can't save any money as he's not working. He's not ready to go back yet. But a little backstory about my brother. He's always been bad with money, can't save, spends every penny he has, and is a big car enthusiast, so that's where all the money goes. He hasn't been working for a year due to mental health and receives welfare money from the government. However, at the start of the year, he spent all of his savings, about $11,000, on a car that he can't afford. He also has $4,000 in debt, so with insurance plus fuel, that takes up all the welfare money he gets a month just to keep this car. He also still lives at home and constantly has to borrow money off my mom for extra fuel and food, etc., because he doesn't have any money. It all goes to the car. So even then, when he did that, I was already thinking that I'll have to wait for my mom's 60th by myself. But my mom
doesn't have an issue with his financial decision and said, I don't think he should have to sell his car. And I tried to explain that it's crazy. If he sold what he couldn't afford, then he'll be able to save a little bit each month for stuff he needs instead of her having to bankroll him all the time. My mom is also struggling herself. So now we're here. He hasn't prioritized mom's birthday, and they are both wanting me to pay for it. But also, I can't help feel guilty for not, as I know it make mom sad if he's not able to join. And I kind of feel that pressure and responsibility on me. I've always been the one to learn money and help, etc. So they probably expect me to say, oh, I'll just pay for him, but I totally can't keep doing it. And last week, he also asked me if I would pay his $500 credit card off, even though he can't pay it back. Let me just take a deep breath here. I'm not just patching my coughs for a sec. Okay, I would never let you pay my $500 credit card. He needs to take responsibility for his actions. Okay, no. And he only asks you for the money because he knows you're going to say yes, and he knows that you'll keep giggling about it. $500 credit card debt on top of the $100 for the party? He is treating you like an open ATM because you've allowed it in the past. You are not the a-hole. This is a terrible financial situation he created. Your guilt is just a symptom of the role you've been forced into as the responsible savior. You gotta know. You combat being the person everyone comes to for money by realizing that you're actually helping him less by enabling him. The guilt is misplaced. It should be his for putting you and your mom in this situation. The boundary is simple. I love you both, but my money is budgeted for the party, for mom, not for funding brother's poor financial choices. He is an adult and needs to manage his own expenses. If your mom gets sad, reminds her that his car is the problem, not your wallet. This is a classic case of enabling versus tough love. Do you think you're ready to tell them no, even if your mom gets upset for a little while? Go! Tough love, Zada!
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pet sit at home for my family on a vacation I thought I was invited to? The last few stories were all about people being asked to take on unfair financial and emotional burdens. This story is following that theme, but this time it's about a physical burden, being asked to become a live-in farmhand during finals week. I'll try and keep this as short as possible. Essentially, I live on a farm with horses and dogs and several other animals inside. The chores for them consist of waking up before 5 a.m. to feed the horses and all the inside pets. And during the middle of the day, do the horse chores, and same again at night. Also consistently letting the dogs out throughout the day. On weekdays, there's someone who does the midday horse chores, but not on weekends. Ooh, 5 a.m. starts, midday and night chores? That is not a few pets, that is a full-time job. We're talking about a farm schedule here, not just filling a cat's bowl. That's a massive amount of work, especially on weekends. My parents are going on a trip and asked if I could pet sit the 10 days they'd be away. First of all, I was under the assumption I was going with them as it was mentioned before. Second of all, they both tell me I do too much when my current pet sitting and work and should be focusing on school. Ouch. Finding out you're the last-minute replacement for yourself, that stinks. Oh, that's low. And they have the nerve to tell you to focus on school right before they try to give you 10 days of nonstop farm labor during finals week. They're basically giving you a lecture and a massive chore list at the same time. The dates they asked was during my finals week or in January, but I'm pet sitting the beginning of that month and want to do mini trips since it's a break from school. I already do a lot of chores at home, and this is just really annoying me, and I don't want to be stuck at home then.
Absolutely not. Finals week is survival mode, and January is your break. You deserve to take those mini trips. You are completely right to be annoyed. You've already committed to other pet sitting, and your parents need to respect it. Your time off is your time off. They says it's not a lot of an ask, but to me it is. I thought I would go with them on vacation, and I want to be stuck at home for 10 days. I feel like I may seem ungrateful because they do help me with a lot of things, but I feel like I equally keep up with what they ask me to do in daily life. They are the ones that tell me I do too much and to take a break. So for them to ask me this and say it's not a big deal just seems wrong. I'm trying to set boundaries and do what's best for me, like they say, but once it involves them, it's apparently an issue. Now, they're asking what's wrong with me and what's going on because I simply said this is something I don't want to do. TLDR, my parents are asking a lot of me when I already do so much and I don't feel appreciated, rather just taken advantage of half the time. You nailed it right there. The moment your boundaries inconvenience them, they flip the script and accuse you of being the problem. Asking what's wrong with me is just another guilt trip. You are not the a-hole. They are taking advantage of you. They need to hire a professional farm sitter for 10 days and let you focus on school and enjoy your break.
Story 8. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother she only wants money from me? I lost my father when I was a teen, not in US. I haven't seen my mother in over 18 months, but the last 3 times was us going to them, which is a 5-hour drive. I'm 30 female, still on her healthcare plan. I'm supposed to be on my work's healthcare plan, but the accountant sucks, and for the last 4 months, I've been trying to get her to do her job. Losing your dad young is rough, and that long drive is a huge commitment. And the healthcare thing, that's so frustrating. You're trying to fix it, but you're stuck because of a useless accountant, so you're stuck with this awkward financial tie to your mom for now. For the last 8 months, the only times my mom has called or texted me is to ask me to pay for my healthcare plan or to complain about money. Please note, she lives in a very big, very expensive house, and her husband hasn't worked in the 17 years they've been together. But that's not the point. Oh my God, 8 months of that? Ugh, Titus now at a mother-daughter relationship. That's a collection agency. The fact that she lives in a fancy house and is financially supporting a non-working spouse for 17 years tells you everything about her own financial priorities, and they have nothing to do with you. For the last 8 months, the only times my mom has called or texted me is to ask me to pay for my healthcare plan or to complain about money. She once again texted me for the healthcare money and sent screenshots of our bank account. A quick message was added, hoping I was okay. She then also texted me asking to pay for half of my grandmother's flight to visit my mom at Christmas. She wasn't really clear if me and husband were invited, but I imagined I was. When we go to Christmas at their house, we are also asked to contribute a significant sum. She then tried calling multiple times. Screenshots of her bank account, that is peak guilt tripping and emotional manipulation. And asking you to fund half of your grandma's flight before even confirming if you and your husband are invited or if you have to pay a significant sum to attend. She's treating you like a financial resource, not a daughter. I told her while it's normal that I pay the healthcare plan and I have no problem doing that, I've had enough of her only contacting me for money or to complain about money. She got upset and said it wasn't true and hung up. You know what? Good for you. You were direct and you stated the reality of the relationship she has created. She got upset because you called out her behavior and she didn't have a good comeback. You were right. She texted her scroll up as she hadn't responded to any of my texts announcing my new job or on my new haircut. She hadn't asked me anything about my husband and my life. Her only text and calls in 8 months were for the healthcare plan payment and making sure I paid. Boom. Yes, that text was brilliant. That's the gold or evidence right there. When you laid out the evidence, the only thing she could do was hang up. She's interested in your financial transactions, not your life transitions. I am not a mooch. I've paid for my own clothes since I've been 15 and for my studies, got my own house, etc.
I'm not rich and sometimes struggle, but I pay my own way. It's been my unfortunate chance that I'm still on her healthcare plan, but I am doing everything with a useless accountant to change that. I pay every month, although sometimes I do pay a day late. Also note, my mother has always been generous with her money with other people, especially her husband's family. She's just very particular with me. So am I the a-hole for telling my mother she is only interested in money from me? Absolutely not the a-hole. You delivered a truthful assessment of her behavior and the quality of the relationship she is offering. You didn't accuse her of not loving you like in story 5. You accused her of only being interested in money, which is exactly where the evidence shows. Sometimes when a family member treats you like an account number, you have to tell them that's all they've become. You need to get off that health plan ASAP so you can break this cycle.
Am I the a-hole for wanting my curfews removed? I'm currently can't stay awake past 8 p.m. More specifically, can't leave my room or wake up earlier than 7 a.m. due to a curfew. Normally, I wouldn't care since I have plenty of books to read, but more than a few times my gaming hobbies clash with the time frame. What? An 8 p.m. curfew for a 16-year-old? That is insane. That's like a bedtime for a little kid. And you can't even leave your room? That's not a curfew, that's a lockdown. Seriously? Are you living in a prison? For clarification, I'm part of a few genres that have game nights at scheduled times, which often end up lasting or starting past 8, meaning I can't join in. I have tried asking for the removal of my curfew, to which they denied, and tried negotiating for it by having set an amount of time to play instead while allowing me to play past 8 if I save my hours, then also adding in that I only want it for the weekend too to not interfere with my sleep. But they denied it, stating that it's not good for me to stay up later. You are being incredibly reasonable and mature about this. You're trying to negotiate and compromise by suggesting limiting it to the weekend and pre-saving hours, and their only reason is it's not good for you. Staying up late on a weekend to participate in a scheduled group activity is perfectly normal social interaction for a teenager. On top of that, I also host D&D sessions that start at 6 a.m. due to time zones, but they're trying to remove that too, despite the fact I hosted on weekends. Both times, the reasoning was different as I answered each problem to the point they now just keep saying it's not good for me. Okay, you're hosting D&D at 6 a.m. on a weekend. That is dedication. You're getting up early to do a social/creative thing, and they're still citing you? Their reason keep changing because they don't have a good one. They just like the control. I've had so many arguments over this that have ruined weekends and caused marriages. Am I actually in the wrong? Update. I forgot to put this last one in, but I am allowed to be out up until 10 p.m. if my father makes us all watch a movie. But I can't do anything else during nighttime. Second update, it's not a punishment, but a set rule, and I can stay up till 10 if my father makes us watch a movie, but I can't do anything else. Am I actually in the wrong? Absolutely not. You are showing responsibility, the ability to negotiate, and a desire to maintain your social life, which is a key part of teenage development. Your parents are enforcing an arbitrary rule that is isolating you and stopping you from participating in your legitimate hobbies and social life. You are right to want to remove the curfew. It's unreasonably restrictive for a 16-year-old.
Am I the a-hole for snitching on my neighbors to the landlord? The last story was about unfair rules imposed by parents, but this time it's about unfair noise imposed by neighbors. You had a problem with someone's behavior, tried to be mature, and got laughed at, so you took it to the authority. You absolutely did the right thing. I, 24FA, moved abroad for university 1.5 years ago. I got an apartment on the second floor of a smaller house. The first floor is one big apartment divided into 5 rooms, door mesh, and rented out separately, whereas my floor has 2 apartments and they're private. I recently got 5 new neighbors downstairs. They're all guys in their early 20s who I haven't met yet. I should add that this house is not insulated properly, so sound carries. Oh, a house divided. That's always tricky. And the cardboard walls thing.
I know that life. Every sound is amplified. 5 new guys in their early 20s downstairs. Yeah, you were already in for a rough time. Last night at about 2 or 3 a.m., I was woken up at the slamming of the front door. People started walking back and forth between outside and inside in 5-minute intervals. They were slamming the doors, talking loudly, laughing, etc. I'm guessing they had an after party. This lasted for about an hour with some breaks. During those breaks, I started to doze off, but then the noise picked up again. Yeah, precisely slamming the main door at 2 or 3 a.m. That's not just getting carried away, that's just being totally oblivious. The fact that it lasted an hour of stop and start noise is the worst. It completely destroys any chance of sleep. You're being a saint to even try to sleep through it. I decided to get out of bed and go ask them if they could keep it down a bit, at least with the doors, because those are crazy loud, and shake the walls. I started to walk downstairs and immediately heard them all running and kind of whisperingly yelling. This house is literally just cardboard. If I can hear you talking outside of my bedroom window, loud and clear, I can definitely hear you talking and running from 5 feet away. The silent treatment. They heard you coming, panicked, and tried to pretend they weren't being loud. They knew they were wrong. Their reaction confirms it. It confirms they were assholes and you weren't not. I got there and saw them all collectively running into their apartment while huffing. I was less than a foot away from their door, about to say hi, and they fully closed it in my face. I saw all of them gathered inside, laughing at me. What the fuck? I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there. What? No, they didn't. They laughed in your face. Okay, that changes everything. You were trying to be the adult and they treated you like a joke. They didn't just ignore you. They were actively rude and disrespectful. With a little bit of shock passed, I started writing a text to the landlord explaining everything and asking him to step in because clearly this can't be resolved by ourselves like grown-ups. And not as the perfect response. You went down there to try to resolve it like grown-ups, but they showed you they were not ready to be treated like adults. Once they laughed at you and slammed the door, all bets are off. The landlord is literally the next step. That wasn't snitching. That was escalating to the proper authority after being disrespected. Sleep is sacred. Funny thing is, I wasn't even angry before, just a bit irritated because I got woken up and couldn't fall back asleep. I'm pretty tolerant with this stuff usually. My only reason of going down there was to talk to them nicely. That's why you are not the able. You gave them the benefit of the doubt, and they throw it back in your face by being childish jerks. Your friends joking about you being the old lady are missing the point. They were the ables for mocking you when you were being polite. While I don't really think that snitching on them was the wrong move, I am wondering if I should have tried to communicate more times before doing that. Nowhere. You tried to communicate once, and they slammed the door on you and laughed. What makes think a second or third try would have been any different? You would have just given them more material to laugh about. You handled it perfectly by going to the landlord when they proved they couldn't be reasoned with. Sleep is sacred.
Oh, I am working really hard for you guys, 'cause I love you. Anyway, 11th story. Am I the a-hole for rehoming my mom's dog? In the last story, you were dealing with neighbors who are immature and disrespectful. This time, you're dealing with family drama, but the main issue is finding the best solution for a beloved but poorly behaved dog. My parents had a dog, Sparky. While Sparky is a very friendly and happy dog, he is ill-trained. My parents were older when they adopted him 5 years ago as a puppy, and they really let training fall by the wayside. They spoiled him, let him act however, and always called him their baby. I used to joke they were like new age permissive parents with him. While Sparky has always been kind to my kids, he is very energetic and will knock them over when he's excited. Ah, a classic. Permissive parents with dogs. They're super sweet but totally undisciplined, which is a recipe for chaos. The fact that he's knocking over your young, loud children is a huge safety issue, regardless of how kind he is. That's a legitimate concern for any parent. Unfortunately, my dad passed away a year ago, and in the months since, it's been obvious that my mom can no longer live alone. She moved in with me for a little while, but as my husband and I both work full-time, we couldn't be what she needs. Also, as much as she loves my children, I know it is a lot for her to go from living with just my dada and their dog to a house with 3 young, loud children.
My brother also works full-time and travels at 10 for work. My mom agreed to move into an assisted living facility and someone who visits her every day, whether it's Zai's kids, her own brother, my kids, etc. The facility does not allow dogs, so we agreed to take on Sparky. Wow, your family has gone through a lot of upheaval. You and your husband stepped up huge to take in both your mom and a high-energy, untrained dog. That's a massive commitment, especially when you both work full-time. The fact that you took Sparky on shows you were trying your best to keep him in the family. We immediately tried getting him trained, but he got kicked out of 2 obsidian skulls. We don't work full-time, whereas my dad was retired and my mom worked from home, so Sparky was used to having someone always around, which is no longer the case. He is now very clingy, understandably, but my youngest has developed a fear of Sparky because of how much he can be. He was with us 4 months. Kicked out of juice schools? Wow, what an amazing whistle. That confirms this is not a regular dog with minor issues. This is a seriously high-needs dog with separation anxiety and behavior problems. And your youngest is now scared of him. That is the final nail in the coffin. As a parent, your kid's safety and well-being absolutely comes before a dog you inherited. Unfortunately, my dad passed away a year ago, and in the months since it's been obvious that my mom can no longer live alone. She moved in with me for a little while, but as my husband and I both work full-time, we couldn't be what she needs. Also, as much as she loves my children, I know it is a lot for her to go from living just with my dad and their dog to a house with 3 young, loud children. My brother also works full-time and traveled a ton for work. My mom agreed to move into an assisted living facility. And someone who visits her every day, whether it's us kids, your own brother, my kids, etc. The facility does not allow dogs, so we agreed to take on Sparky. Okay, this is not giving the dog away to a stranger. This is finding him a 5-star customized retirement home where he can actually thrive. He gets anchors, exercise, cross-professional training, and constant company. All the things your busy, kid-filled house couldn't give him. This is the best case scenario for Sparky, hands down. And the visits to your mom, that's you being incredibly thoughtful. We spoke with our mom and she got very emotional. She said Sparky has lost too much in his life and is now going to live with a stranger. She then compared it to, what if I died and the people we've left our kids to just decided to rehome them? I said that was not a fair comparison. No, that comparison is absolutely unfair and manipulative. Cats are not children. You didn't leave him to a stranger. You placed him with a highly qualified, known dog professional who can give them the life he needs. Your mom is dealing with her own grief and projecting that onto the dog, but that doesn't mean you should destroy your own family's peace and safety to manage your emotions.
We are on story 12. And if you have not subscribed yet, why? I mean, do you hate me or what? I know you like the story secretly. That's why you're still here. So hey, subscribe. Next story is, am I the a-hole for yelling at the dog trainer? So the community I live in has a very large private park. Early weekend mornings, me and my 9-year-old dog walk down and I fish in the ponds a bit. She sniffs around, but mostly just lays down to enjoy the smells and watch me. There's a dog trainer who is usually there on the weekends with clients, a beautiful, calm routine. That sounds like the perfect start to a weekend. And a large park means plenty of room for everyone. A thoughtful, Today, I'm fishing. Dog trainer as with his client. They're training off-leash commands and control. Not allowed, but again, I don't care. My dog is off-leash too. Anyways, today, trainer decides to stand 20 feet from me and my dog, and he is using my big, scary dog as a prop. Like, the client's dog keeps eyeballing my dog, and they're trying to call the dog's attention back to its owner. Now, since they keep gesticulating to my dog, now my dog is like, what's going on? I thought we were just chilling. What's all this about now? So she starts to get kind of agitated.
I try to keep fishing, but they just won't move on. The trainer is literally using my dog's presence as a training aid. That's a key issue. He was actively disrupting your dog's peace and potentially causing her stress just to make his job easier. Your dog was just chilling, and now she's a lesson prop. That is totally uncool. I agree. So finally, I call out, hey, I don't appreciate you using my dog as a prop for your training session. He gets defensive right away. I'm working with a client here, not you. Yeah, but you're using my dog as a prop, which is distracting to her and to me, and I don't appreciate you doing that in our area. This is a public park, buddy. Yes, a very large park. The argument kind of devolved from there, him trying to turn it into me trying to say you can't stand here or whatever, and me trying to bring it back to the fact that he was using us in a way I wasn't okay with. Anyways, he leaves all miffed. Anyways, did I become the bark asshole or was I in the right? I'm not bothered that he was crowding us so much as I'm bothered that he had to involve a third party against their will into his training session. You were absolutely in the right. You weren't yelling at him for existing. You were yelling at him for using your property and your time without consent in a way that caused you and your dog stress. A professional trainer knows that if they need a distraction, they either ask for consent or they find a natural moving one. He chose to corner you and get defensive when called out. You were setting a very necessary boundary. You are the park peacekeeper, not the a-hole.
A strong tone. 13th story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that she ruined her own life? I am a 19 boy who left home the day my mom kicked me out. I had a difficult childhood and adolescence. My mother became a mother at 15. She has addictions and we have almost no contact with our family. My father left when I was little and we never had a stable home. We often ended up living in the homes of the men my mother dated. She couldn't hold down a job and the house was always in poor condition and dirty. She never cared whether my younger sister or I went to school. In the end, I was the one who took care of everything. My sister, who is now 16, the house, getting food, and myself. Even so, my mother made sure to remind us constantly how much trouble we caused in her life and in the lives of others. Oh my God. That sounds like a horrific childhood. You weren't the kid, you were the parent. Taking care of your sister, the house, and getting food. That's a massive, unfair burden. And her constantly telling you that you were a burden is classic emotional abuse. You did not cause her life to be unstable. She did. Paradoxically, the best thing that ever happened to me was being kicked out of the house. I had to study and work at the same time, and I still do, but I finally found some peace and stability. I am so happy you found peace. That just confirms how toxic that home environment was. It's a sad truth, but sometimes leaving chaos is the only way to find yourself. You were doing amazing, working and studying. You've built stability for yourself. So you can imagine my surprise when a few days ago, I got the call from my sister in the evening. She was crying inconsolably and asking me to come home as quickly as possible. My roommate drove me there in his car, and when we arrived, the scene was horrific. There were broken plates on the floor, trash everywhere. The place smelled of confinement and filth. The cow was drinking water from the toilet, and my sister was sitting on the stairs crying. Then I heard shouting upstairs. Oh no. That is a nightmare scene. The fact that the place was that disgusting with a cat drinking from the toilet speaks volumes about the level of neglect and addiction. Your sister was right to call you. You stepped into a crisis zone. To sum it up, my stepfather had kicked my sister out of the house, and he ended up kicking my mother out too, which only increased her anger towards my sister. As soon as my mom saw me, she became even more enraged. She said we were so selfish that we wouldn't even let her be happy with the man she loved for our behavioral problems. Oh, well, She's still spinning that lie, even when she's standing in the middle of her self-made mess, blaming you guys for her relationship falling apart. That's not just projection, that's emotional abuse. You were not selfish. You were children trying to survive her chaos. That was enough for me. I told my mom that everything that happened was her fault, not ours. My mom yelled at me that I was just trying to justify myself, that I always did the same thing, blame her for everything. She said that my sister and I were the ones truly responsible for how her life had ended, that we had pushed her into all of that we never appreciated her efforts. That she is incapable of taking responsibility. She believes her own narrative, that her life was perfect until she was forced into these bad choices by her demanding children. You were just stating the truth. She is the adult and her choices are her own. I insisted that wasn't true, that it had always been her responsibility. And suddenly she's had something that made me feel terrible, that she had done the best she could. And then I felt guilty because maybe in her mind, she did believe she was doing the best she could. Maybe she really didn't know how to do it differently. That's where the guilt comes from, and it's a natural human reaction. Look, maybe she genuinely believes she did the best she could, but that doesn't mean her best was acceptable or that your statement was wrong. Your feeling of guilt is you having empathy. Her behavior is a defense mechanism. She may have been incapable of being a better parent due to her own issues, but the consequences of those issues were still her responsibility, and they still ruined your childhoods. You spoke the truth. Later, when things calmed down a bit, my sister told me the reason for the whole fight. Apparently, it all had started because she had defended me. My stepbrother had said that I was an idiot and a slacker who he would never give money to, and my sister confronted him. That's what started it all, and that made me feel worse. No matter how hard I tried to get away from it all, from that house, from that fight, this life, end up being the reason that everything goes up in flames again. So absolutely not the a-hole. You are not the reason for that chaos. You are the catalyst for the boundary. Your sister saw someone insulting the person who was her real protector, and she stood up for you. The fight was the stepfather's problem and your mom's problem. You need to stop carrying the guilt for other people's bad behavior. Your responsibility now is to your sister. You get her out of that house and into your stable life as soon as you can.
Wow, we've covered a huge range of dilemmas today, from childhood trauma being minimized to a brother trying to shake you down for money, and even an infuriating neighbor who thought they could fence in your property. It was a lot. If these stories felt relatable or my reactions made you chuckle, please show some love. Hit that like button right now. If you want to keep up with all the wild AITA stories and hear my honest takes, don't forget to subscribe. Finally, if you know someone dealing with a boundary-stomping family or friend, please share this video with them. Let's make sure everyone knows they are not the a-hole when they stand up for themselves. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.